Hello, I'm David Pasturi from the University of Detroit Mercy. Welcome to the Automation Alley R&D podcast featuring Don Hutchinson, Dean of Engineering and Advanced Technology at Macomb Community College. Welcome, Don.
Thanks, David. Good to be with you today.
Let's get right into it. How do you see the disruptive nature of Industry 4.0 shaping credentialing at the community college level, Don?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Industry 4.0 by its nature is disruptive, and it's going to disrupt every industry. Community colleges aren't exempt from that. I see more and more degrees and certificates with significant IT components as major parts of the programs. And, when we talk about IT, we're talking cybersecurity and computer programming, big data. All of these disciplines are going to be key. And it's going to require our faculty to develop a better understanding of these concepts. And it's really going to force that cross-departmental collaboration that's often, difficult to achieve aside from some type of impetus to force our hand. And we're up to the challenge. I know that. We have a program right now, the Vehicle Engineering Technician Program, which was automotive based. And at the community college level, we typically have had an automotive servicing program, but we've incorporated some IT components as well into that program to create a technician who can help develop some of the newer technologies that automotive OEMs are looking for. And it required us to work with our automotive faculty and our IT faculty. And that's the type of change that's going to happen in order for us to adopt new industrial 4.0 technologies.
Thanks, Don. It's interesting to see the role of IT moving forward. It seems to be kind of the hub and the integrator, and we see the same thing in the four-year institutions. Let me ask you this, Don. Where do you see community colleges going with badging and micro-credentialing?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a hot topic nowadays. Honestly, we go the way industry goes. And as we all know, not all badges and micro-credentials are created equal. At the end of the day, competency is key. So, community colleges, we've always been responsive to industry, and we tailor our programs to meet both those broad needs that we know are needed across the major industries, but we also have the flexibility to create those unique regional needs as well. And, micro credentials, they can play a role, and I do believe it's going to play a larger role going forward, but it can't be unilaterally dictated by the colleges. Ultimately, industry is going to have to demand it. And, some industries are more conducive to adopting them than others. When it comes to engineering, manufacturing, it remains to be seen. So we're optimistic that we'll be able to develop some of these types of things going forward. I mean, we already have those third-party credentials that we incorporate into our programs, but it remains to be seen what industry really wants.
Yeah, on our side, Don, in the four-year institutions, we've been approached with topics such as artificial intelligence, machine learning. Are you guys at the community college level seeing the same sorts of things?
Naturally, there's demand out there for that. We have to be careful that we don't step on the toes of the four-year institutions when it comes to those types of programs. We're at the technician level, and although there's going to be a role in those disciplines for the technician level, we're still trying to understand where industry wants us to fall with respect to that. So again, we're in a holding pattern right now, waiting on industry to dictate to us what they'd like to see from the community colleges.
Thanks. You had mentioned competencies. Let me ask you this. Do you see community colleges moving towards competency-based outcomes versus traditional testing and grading?
I do. I certainly do. To my previous point, competency is key. Prior to the pandemic, we had record unemployment. We had extremely strong demand for skilled labor. And we know as Industry 4.0 continues to play a larger and larger role, that demand is only going to grow, and it's going to grow really quickly. And the skilled nature of the work is also going to grow along with it. So it won't be enough for a student to say she received an A in a particular course, for example. or for a student to say, I had a 3.8 GPA in this particular program. What's going to matter? What's going to matter more and more to the employer is that she can demonstrate that she knows how to function in a highly flexible, constantly changing environment, and that's not something that you can fake. And an A doesn't necessarily mean that you can do that. It's going to be incumbent upon us as community college leaders to ensure that these students can demonstrate what they know and that they're adaptable to change. And if we can't do that successfully, as we've seen recently, industry will create its own training programs and bypass us altogether. And that's where we are as institutions of higher learning. We have to make sure that we stay relevant to what industry is looking for. And that competency-based piece is going to be key.
Okay, that's insightful. And speaking of that, Bosch is moving to adopt a new strategy, recruiting students through their parents and hiring them, offering them really 3 different pathways. One is employment, community college, and into a skilled trade. Second is employment, community college, and in-house training, so you become a loyal employee. And then third is employment, community college, and then 2 additional years to earn an undergraduate degree. All of these tracks have the community college at the center of the equation. How do you feel about this approach, Don?
Oh, naturally, I like it. I think it demonstrates the value that they place in community colleges, and they recognize the role we play in our communities and the significant benefit that we bring to bear on some of the challenges that they face when it comes to hiring. So I like the approach. If we could take it one step higher, I'd love for the Bosches of the world to reach out to colleges directly and create, some of these programs on a broader scale. Because one potential downside I see, and this is going to be completely dependent on the makeup of their current workforce, especially if they have a very homogeneous workforce, that if they execute this successfully, it may limit the opportunity to diversify their workforce. And we know that's so vital to promoting new ideas and innovation. And that's really important for large organizations as a whole. They want to diversify. So I'd encourage anyone taking this approach to keep that in mind.
Great. Let me ask you about the COVID-19 situation. It's impacting everyone. How is the COVID-19 impacting community colleges, and what are your plans for the 2020-2021 school year?
Sure. Well, I'm sure it's not surprising to hear that we've been impacted greatly, like everyone else, in practically every industry. In the short term, we were forced to move our face-to-face programming online. And this was a huge adjustment for faculty, for staff, and especially for our students. And it wasn't without its challenges. But honestly, I think we did an admirable job of adjusting to creating virtual programming. I can't speak with any specificity about our plans for 2021 school year as it's still being rolled out, but suffice it to say it's going to have a huge, very comprehensive online presence, and the school is creating a comprehensive plan that's been developed to make sure that we can meet the needs of the students as best we can. We're doing what we can to create a robust system online so that students don't miss out on much. In many cases, there's really no substitute for face-to-face courses. So we do plan to come back face-to-face as soon as that's allowed, so that the students can do the things like welding, for example, mechatronics. They need to have their hands on the equipment, on the welding equipment. And there's really no true substitute for that. So we're going to look into identifying virtual programs that would help us to augment what we would do typically face-to-face. But so we're going to have dual tracks. We're going to definitely increase what we're doing online, but we want to make sure that our students can still do hands-on face-to-face classes. And safety is our first priority. This is something that our leadership has focused on from the very beginning of the pandemic. We want to make sure that everyone's safe. So when we do return to school, we're going to have significant safety protocols in place to make sure that when students come to class, that they're safe, and when they leave, that they're also safe.
Thanks, Don. I have to tell you, I'm an alum of Macomb Community College, so it's always great to hear about the good work that you're doing. Just one final thought. What makes Macomb Community College unique? I mean, there are a lot of community college options, but I know through my own experience that I had great instructors, very hands-on, high-quality education. In just a few words, what makes Macomb such a unique institution?
We have great faculty. Our faculty, they make the difference. They are really committed to making sure that our students, when they come to Macomb Community College, they're cared for, they're supported, and that they receive the education that they're expecting. And we have strong ties to our community, so we keep our finger on the pulse of industry, and they respond to us very well. We respond to them very well, and we create a pathway for our students to come from us to an industry so that they can really make a difference. And that's what really sets us apart.
Thanks so much, Don. We've had special guest Don Hutchinson, the Dean of Engineering and Advanced Technologies at Macomb Community College. And I'm David Piscuri from the University of Detroit Mercy. Thanks for tuning in to Automation Alley R&D Podcast.